Question. What exactly, special teams wise, I know across the board everybody sort of wants to know some information on it, but is there anything like specifically you want to cover today that we make sure that we get to? Yeah.
How to score on special teams.
How to score on special teams. I've got a kickoff return for you that we're going to talk about. Anything else? Specifically?
Circuits.
I'm sorry?
Circuits. Special circuits.
Okay. Circuits. Where's the marker at?
Right on the kickoff.
Is that not permanent? Is it?
Well, we'll find out.
One, so score. 2 circuits. What else? Anything else?
Onside.
Onside?
Yeah.
Really? All right. Somewhat of our specialty. What else?
I want to show, I don't know if they want this, but they're doing our punt, our rollout adjustment.
Okay.
No, because you guys, Sebastian, you're using the spread shield punt, right?
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah, the rollout would be a benefit to them.
Anything else? It's 4. I have a kickoff that I've got some good information on that may be helpful. I don't know if y'all are set in your ways as far as your kickoff, how you cover the field. I mean, for it to be effective, you got to actually have a decent kicker to get the ball down the field. With any kickoff, you got to, or coverage team, you got to have a decent kicker to get the ball down the field. So it gives us how to score, circuits, onside, punt, roll out, kickoff.
How do I got a rookie. He's a soccer player in his first year playing American football, and I'm looking for ways to make him more consistent.
So just
30,
kicking,
20 yards.
Place kicking.
Yeah, yeah.
So we'll be done.
No, we won't. I just,
Speed.
I have a lot of stuff here that I can skip over for the time being and come back from it, or back to it. A couple of things just to get it going. I think the most important thing when you're coaching special teams, and you know, we spend so much time on offense and defense, is one, placing an emphasis on special teams. You know, I go to Coach Clark all the time and say, I try to talk to him about it all the time and how we can make an impact within the game itself. Every single week I go to him and say, I know I can, or we can make an impact in this specific area, and I want to concentrate in this specific area this week. And more times than not, you know, if I go to him and I say, hey, I feel like we can get to the punt this week, you know, we end up getting to the punt that week. So number one is know your opponent, and if you can create an advantage in a specific unit, then you better be practicing it and concentrating on it so you can exploit it come that game. You know, one thing we had a thing that was really loud. Shut that just a little bit. Try to keep some airflow. One thing that we had a staff meeting it was like a month or 2 ago, you know, and I got up in front of all of our coaches and I said, you know, there's a couple of things I feel like need to happen, and number one is concentrating more on what we know we're going to use that week. So, for example, if we know we're going to put up a lot of points that week based off what we're seeing on defense from them, then we better be working kickoff and kickoff coverage team. Okay, if we know that they're going to score a lot of points on us, or you know we're going to work more kickoff return team. So work what you're going to do that specific week, or place an emphasis on it. I'm not going to spend all of my special teams time, what little time I have, on, you know, onside, for example. I know you want to hear onside. We don't spend a whole lot of time on it because when do you use it? Rarely. I mean, you need it when you need it, but I'm not going to spend 20 minutes during my practice time on that on a Thursday if I know I'm not going to use it, or hopefully not going to use it. You know, but it's dependent on who we're playing. If I know we're playing a very good opponent and there's a better chance we're going to use it, I'm going to practice it. Okay? So just be smart about how you allot your practice time, because in most cases, like us, special teams is limited through the week. Okay? And you've got to be very smart in how you use your time. You know, we have a creed. What I want my guys and what their mind frame should be every time they step on the field, and I won't read this, but you know, you can sort of skim through it. This is the type of mind frame that I want them to have when they step out there, and creating an identity for themselves and why they're on it. You know, a kid that's trying to get on the field, I can give them purpose by just, you know, giving them some words and something that they can work towards and be a part of. Being on a special teams, we name them after you know, special forces, for number one, because it's a great honor, you know, and our kids really respect our military back at home. So it you know, it creates an identity for them almost. And you know, you and I have talked about it a little bit, but you know, whatever your kids are passionate about, it sort of, you know, try to create an identity for your special teams in that way, which is what we try to do. Placing an emphasis on it, like we just talked about. What are you emphasizing and why? You know, with special teams, you can swing the momentum of the game just like that. Whether that's a punt block, a kick block, a punt return, and so forth. The number one momentum builder is a special teams play. And this next slide, I think it's this next slide, is that you need to understand this. 25% of the scoring that occurs in the game comes on special teams. If you're not hitting your extra points, you could potentially lose a game in that way. I've lost several games in my career, whether it was playing or coaching, that we lost by a single point because we couldn't put the ball through the uprights. And that's very discouraging. But 25% of your scoring comes from special teams, 50% of the total yards. I mean, that is huge. 50% of the yards comes from special teams. So you're talking about kickoff return for your offense, punt return, setting up your offense in the correct position. You know, you're going to increase your chances of scoring on offense a lot more if you can set up a return. You know, fielding the ball is, we placed a big time emphasis on that this year. Our punter said, if you do anything, you're a punt returner, you catch the ball. I don't care if you don't return it an inch, but I want the ball caught. Why? Because I don't want it rolling another 20 yards into defensive territory, and now my offense, or our offense, has to go 2 additional first downs. Field position is gold to us, and we talk about it constantly. You know, when it comes to special teams, you know, saving your offense yards or gaining yardage for your defense. Creating goals for your team. This is just a list of goals. I won't spend a whole time on this. You know, and if you want to add me on Facebook or send me emails, I can, you know, just give you some ideas of what we put in front of our team as far as goals, what we want to achieve week to week, season to season. I think it's important that they have something to shoot for, things that you can hang on your wall, things that, you know, social media. If that's how you communicate with your team, send them out some. You know, this week this is what our focus is. This is our goal. You can do that offense, defense, or so forth. I think this is, you know, I've showed this a couple of years now, but I'm still a big believer in it, and it's hard to police and do, because a lot of times I find myself out there coaching special teams by myself, and coaches sort of, you know, stand on the wayside and have casual conversation off to the side, when in reality on kickoff, you know, who's looking at wedge busters, or who's watching the containers, who's just looking at 1 and 2. You know, having jobs for each coach and making sure that their eyes are in the right spot, and each coach or each player is getting coached, because special teams covers the entire width of the field, and one coach can't coach it all, because, I mean, you're just limited visually. You know, so giving everybody an identity and a job is very important. And we've done a much better job at this, but Coach Clark and I talk about it all the time. Your coaches have to be on the same page and on the same team when you're coaching special teams. One person cannot do it. All right, so communicating with the coordinator and everyone helping and knowing what's going on and what the the scheme is and what the goal of the actual unit is very important. Coach Clark and I spend a lot of time, like, where are your eyes, Coach? Where are our eyes? What are you looking at? What am I looking at? I talk with Coach Kling all the time, but not every single rep that we take, not every coach is looking, and they should be. Okay, so just communicate with each other and make sure you're on the same page. And I didn't create this on my own, by the way. And a lot of this stuff within this entire presentation, I didn't make it up, but it's not rocket science. It's information that I've gained through study, through Glazier clinics or stuff that I went to, clinics in Cincinnati, Indianapolis, wherever, and just obtained over the years. So that's one thing that I really picked up that I've enjoyed and that I think is important. Planning and pre-practice. Let me try to get to what you want, and then if I have time, I'll come back to all this stuff. Actually, I think this is really good, and something that we're going to do is promoting positions. Special teams is somewhat of an unknown for a lot of kids. Offense, we know what a receiver does, okay? But what does an R1 do on the kickoff? All right, well, what we're going to try to do, or what I'm going to try to do, is put wanted posters on our bulletin board, meaning we'll have a sign that says wanted, okay? And under the sign, I may have, okay, for example, F1, which is the front line kickoff return, what the person's responsibility is, what type of body type or skill set that entails, and I'm going to hang it on the wall, and if a kid has interest in attaining that position, they see it and they come to me and say, hey man, or coach, I'm having interest in your wanted poster out front. This says, front line F1. What do I need to do to get on? I want you to take a look at me at it. And I'll say, okay. It's a good way of finding out who has interest in it, who has fire and wants to do it.
How many of your kids on special teams aren't starters on?
A lot.
A lot? So
several, yeah.
That's a way to get in.
And I wish it wasn't that way. In my personal belief, I feel like the best players have to be on the field on special teams. And sometimes, kids need rest. Like our middle linebacker, best player on our team, he never comes off the field, but he's our kicker. But I wish there was a way I could put him on kickoff coverage team, so he's one of our fastest kids would be the first one down the field. He's going to make tackles regardless. I wish I could find somebody to take his place at kicker, but we have guys that are role players around there, but we also have a lot of kids that start as well. It just depends on what the need is for that week. What else? So we talked about understanding our strengths, what we need to work on that week. Come back to that. So that's more of the introduction. How do I minimize this?
Top left, the yellow button.
That.
Yep.
Did I share this with you, Coach? I don't think so. I'll log out.
Yeah, you put one in.
Jättesugen nu en liten stund.
Ja.
Tryck på login.
Awesome. Han kommer åt det.
Eller, det var så här det gick till.
Kanske är så. Kanske de har kommit på det.
Mm.
Så det är nästa.
Yeah. No, not this one.
Ben, just erase the whole password.
I'm good.
Testa below.
Didn't pay our bill.
We tried not paying ours this year. It didn't work out.
No, it didn't work out. They locked us out.
Yeah.
It's like they don't have enough money, we pay them like $20,000 a year for all the crap we do on there. It's amazing. You seen their live in-game stuff now? You've seen it?
Yeah, the sideline. On the sideline. You guys use?
Which
I'm
packaging?
watching- I'm watching the play 15 seconds after it's happened. It's amazing. It helps us kill people. It's almost like cheating. Yes, it's cheating.
It is cheating.
Kind of a why. We love it.
Do you have the premium one too, Coach?
Huh?
Do you have the premium one?
Probably, if it costs $9,000, it's probably more expensive. I just know we have like a $5,000 bill in the middle every year, I don't know what the hell we have in there. Yeah, we just pay it. I really don't know what the charge is for. You probably should look at it. The biggest problem is they have all these options that like, coaches can access something and then they just tack it to your bill. So like if one of your coaches decides to use the game playbook thing, then they just bill you for it, and you're like, so why are we paying for that? And they're like, somebody used it. I hate that. It should be all locked up. And they don't. It's not caramel stuff, isn't it?
Yep. I don't know where it's at.
You probably did what I did. I moved stuff up to this year for mine. I forgot I did that. Did you move it to this year's?
I don't think I moved what I'm looking for this year. I think it might be this. Oh, there it is. All right. So, Sebastian said you wanted to see the special team circuit. We did a special team circuit this week, okay? And one within the, and this is, I think, hopefully a video of all the different segments of the circuits, okay? And this is our drop portion of the actual circuit. And this is what Coach Clark did. And you may have done it a little bit different than we did it. This was 2 years ago. But what this mimics is the front line of a kickoff return. And what we're trying to do is to get our front line guys dropping to a landmark, whipping their eyes and hips around, and getting to the point where they can get in a position to reroute or engage the oncoming coverage team. Okay, so what we have here are cones that are designated across the field. And we're telling our guys that they're going to be dropping to a 45 to a specific cone, all at point, either left or right, and they're opening and they're baseball running or baseball speed turning to their landmark. So if I'm on the front line is this, or the 50-yard line, is this line here. I'm going to be cocked in towards the ball. So if I'm left of the ball, I'm facing this way. If the ball's here, I'm facing this way, and I'm cocked at a 45 on the angle that I'm going to end up running in. So if I'm a front line guy, first and foremost, I'm not going to move until the ball's kicked. All right, and I'm going to go over that here in a minute. You know, placing an emphasis on it. But our whole goal for this drill is, as soon as I say hit, meaning that the ball has been kicked and it's away, they're going to run at a deep 45 to their landmark, which in this case is 5, 10, 15 yards away. And they're going to drop and run with their head over top of their, in this case, left shoulder, or if I'm facing this way to the ball, right shoulder. So I'm running here with my eyes on my designated target, getting to my drop. Now, on kickoff return, then our scheme, we give our guys specific people on the coverage team that they're responsible for based off of film study, okay? So if I've got some, crappy receiver that's the gunner on the far outside that has no threat of getting to my guy, or can't cover the field for anything, I'm going to leave him unblocked because I'm betting that he can't get to us. All right? I'm looking to see who the main threat is that I want to reroute on the first level. Okay, so when we practice this, you know, when we're practicing our scheme on, you know, Wednesday or Thursday or whatever, they know who they have. So for this drop or for this drill, they're simply just running at a 45, and our eyes aren't over our shoulder here, so we're not doing an effective job in the drill. But we're just looking to get to a drop, 15 yards deep. Once they get to 15, flipping hips, and I'm looking to shoot my hands and redirect. Okay? This is a different angle here. Okay? Dropping at a 45. Before they get to the 15-yard mark, they should be flipping their hips and spinning around with their eyes on their target. Now, I've sort of modified the technique. The guy over here on the far left, I like what his eyes are doing. He's over top of his shoulder and he's looking for his target. These two are running blind and they have no idea where their guy is, which is not what you want. Okay? You don't want them to get their eyes around and surprise, they're on top of me. They need to know where everyone's at. So I call it a baseball turn. If I'm tracking a baseball, or in our case, tracking a football over top of our shoulder, my head's here, same concept. Okay? So getting there, turning before we get to the 15-yard mark, snapping our hips around. It's a good job by Sam there in the middle. And our feet are locked. And at this point, you know, you could put the second level guys and run men down the field with it in the drill and get them with a bag and have them just hit and run their feet. Hit and run their feet. We're trying to just widen and create lanes for our return guys. Okay? Yeah.
We did that with our drill. I dropped him to 10, and we had a man. We did it on air twice, Sebastian, and we did it with a guy running down. We had to track and engage. One thing that was different for us is I had him hit the direction the guy took the shoulder and run him that way.
Yeah.
A lot of them said their coaches tell them to flip and run their guy outside all the time because they're always trying to return to the middle. That can be really difficult to do, is to completely turn the opposite way and hit a guy and run with him. I think it's one of the tougher things to do in football. So we just try to emphasize on knocking him out of his lane. One of the things we talked a lot about on this is them understanding why they shouldn't engage at 3 yards, why they want to be deep. Because the play takes so long to develop. It's the longest play in football. Because it takes so long, they want to engage as late as possible because it's a hard block to sustain. And by running the hip, we worked on pushing the hip and running with it to keep the guy out of his lane.
Another thing, just piggybacking off of what, you know, it is a long play, and there is a difference between first and second level. If we engage too early, you know, because we can't maintain that block for 5 seconds for the entirety of the play. They're going to disengage, but what's that give them an opportunity to do as they're continuing to run to get back to their lane? So the later that we can engage them, you know, the harder it is for them to retract and create any type of, you know, uniformity across their line. You know, the biggest problem I have with, you know, when I'm coming up with a kickoff team, and I preach it all the time, is lane integrity. Lane integrity. Get to your lane. We do fly zone, strike zone all the time. Well, the first part of it's fly zone, and we get you to clear, you know, and then we say the number one thing is get back to your lane. Because if you get widened, and I'll show you a clip here in a minute where Pulaski sticks one up our rear end, first play of the game. The main thing, one of our guys gets widened out, and he ends up taking out 2 of our own guys, so 3 men are on the ground, creates this huge gap, and the ball's gone. We had nobody there to make a tackle because he got widened so far. So if your return or kickoff return team, your front level can widen anybody on the first level, you've won. Okay, if your return man can find that crease, that's what you're trying to do is reroute. If the kid's running right, tell your guys to get up underneath their shoulder and take that kid's momentum and put him over there on the train tracks. You know, just let his own momentum take him where he wants to go. Don't try to fight pressure against pressure in that case. Just run him as far as you possibly can. And then if he clears you, you got to let him go, otherwise they're going to call holding on you. So that's what this drill's for. And I think it's a great drill, and the main purpose of it is just getting hips around and locating your man. Sasha, this is what you ran yesterday, or a version of it. Basically, we have a get off here, okay, and this is just mimicking our kickoff coverage team, first level. Fly zone, rip, okay, getting skinnies. Both of these guys are square. This man is really overstriding, and we're working stacking, getting back on the line, and coming to balance. Now the coming to balance stuff, you know, and even I've learned the past day or so, you know, shimmying, work your shimmying techniques here, working squaring up, working any variation that you want to do, be creative with it and do it. The main thing is, this first level, I think my guy is too close to the man. I don't want to fly zone and rip when I get to him. I want to do it before I get to him, a yard or two, because I don't want him to get his hands on me. Because if he does, what's he going to do? Put me out on the train tracks. He's going to widen me. Okay, or at least that's what I'm going to tell my guys to do. Running. So then stack and shoot. So just coming to balance, anything where we're working in open space, shooting our hands, making it realistic. This is our hard hat fit position. Luke yesterday was running this drill. I don't know, I can't remember if he started in an engaged state or not, and our kids don't do a very good job here, I don't think, at the strike phase. We break this down into two versions. I don't know if I have the other version, where we start them in an engaged state, and then where we bring them from depth. This is bringing them from depth. So, maybe. Come on. Alright, so this is, once we fly zone and we've gotten past first level and we're getting down to second level, it's our ability to engage, okay, the strike zone phase, engage, running our feet, our eyes are up and we're trying to locate the running back, and we're ripping and throwing opposite, okay. Now, Skidmore, who's light as water, who's at the Coast Guard now, great kid, but at this time wasn't real strong. You know, I'm not going to have him on a wedge buster on kickoff team. I mean, he just doesn't have the body type. But this drill transitions to receiver stock blocking, things of that nature, where I'm having to balance up and strike. So it's universal. He ends up getting off, but I want to see an aggressive rip, and we always work hard trying to get to the ball, taking proper angles to the football. This kid here in the middle is probably our best football player we have. This was a year or two ago. Come on. I don't know if it's going to work or not, but
Let's go back and forth.
okay. So once all three of these guys are ripped off, another focus that we have in this drill is the angle of the ball. The angle of this guy nearest to the ball is going to be much different than Carter's. Much different, or whoever this is out here to the side. His angle shouldn't be flat down that line. It should be where? Depth. Okay? It should be almost retracing to where he came from and working at a deeper reverse angle to where that returner is going to be if he gets down the sideline. But he's not going to make the play if he comes straight down the line. Aiming points on the return man. So Skidmore having the near shoulder, technically Carter having far shoulder, and then this guy way over here, that looks like stone for some reason, is going to end up being a trailer. Boom, boom. See, it's just not realistic. Why is he in this? Because I didn't feel, he may have been, I don't remember. This is a drill we did yesterday. This is great open field. Being able to react off a returner, where you just have 4 cones. I mean, it's very simple to set up. As you can see, you have 4 cones. One here for the this is your kickoff coverage guy, returner, and these are your designated cut landmarks. Now here they're at 5 yards. They're 5 yards apart. I've since just modified the drill and got them closer together. So I put them about 2 to 3 yards apart because I don't think it's very realistic that the returner is going to cut 5 yards from this guy where it's a one-on-one situation. It's going to be closer in the box, okay, or they're going to be more near each other. So just tighten that down. But the guy over here is just breaking at a 45-degree angle now. Yard to big shimmiers, correct?
Yeah.
You can do this with the shimmy technique, you know. All the kids were like, do you want our head behind or in front? And I'm sitting there telling them something completely different. But my whole point, the emphasis of this drill is just breaking at an angle and cutting, all right, and being able to mirror the movement of the return. This isn't a tackle drill, but you can make it one, all right, or at least make it into a shimmy drill. So as soon as he cuts, now I'm shimmying from there. Pop, 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 okay? And you may even go 2-on-1. And it's just that vice action. So there, we're just trying to beat the man to the point, is what my main coaching point within the drill was.
I really liked that one yesterday because you got to see him go at speed,
Mm-hmm.
but they still weren't hitting like flat out because they had that cut in the middle.
Right.
So you're going at speed and then you're slowing down and then you have to react to what they're doing. I really like that.
And I really say, you know, pick your feet up or sit them down, or, you know, pistol the feet, and, you know, you should hear the feet hitting as they get in the grass, speeding your feet up,
Yep.
coming to balance. You know, anything that you can give a kid a cue, hey, you've got to be under control in this open field situation, because if you come up and you're out of control and your chest is out over your toes, he's going to burn you and you're gone. Because most of the time, you've got your superior athlete carrying the ball as a returner against maybe an average kid that can't break down. So you really got to make sure you're under control. And if you can just get hands on and stand the kid up and not make, we're not looking for a terrific tackle, or, you know, get a hand on a shoelace, I don't care. But most of the time, you're going to be at a disadvantage because you get the best kid against maybe not the best kid. For special teams. So that's that. We also had another version of the Getting Skinny with Coach Yoder yesterday, where he had 2 bags. You know, and you just basically, you're knifing, and I talk about it all the time, you're knifing, trying to just get through a double team. I don't know why something is.
I thought that was a good progression for the get skinny part. Like I would probably run it before we run the
Fight zone.
fight zone,
Yeah.
because it teaches the skinny part in
Yeah.
a very, very simple way.
Absolutely.
Coach Colbert, that last drill where you talked about the shimmy, the ball carrying the other guy coming, that's a good place to add our tackle wheel.
Add what? I'm
Add
sorry.
our tackle wheel.
Yeah.
As that guy runs by, roll the tackle wheel and have him tackle through the back of the tackle wheel.
You can progress all this stuff. I mean, and I even talked about in that wide receiver meeting, is just being creative in what creates a game scenario within the drill. I mean, these are just foundational parts. How can I put them together, you know, and make it realistic to what you're going to see? This thing's sensitive. Where'd Huddle go? There it is. How do I get back
Back to where?
to my list of
Back home?
my list of stuff?
Just a short plane ride.
You know, like my library over here. Oh. This isn't a very good video quality, but it gives you an idea. This is just another part of the circuit. So we've got, you know, 2 guys going at once. One thing I don't like about the near guy is he is ripping and getting skinny with, hold on, to step and rip. Trying to feel what one feels more natural. So I'm coming through. Yeah, you want to step and rip with the same foot. Okay? So here, he's stepping with his right foot and ripping, trying to get low, but he's staying tall. He's not bending at the knee. He needs to bend his knee more to get through. Another version of this is just, he's just trying to create and get through the seam. Another way of going about this is more of what I guess you could call it instead of getting skinny, a split drill. Where you're leading with your right shoulder and your right foot, or left shoulder and left foot, and you're attacking the inside shoulder of one of the men, okay? Or in some cases, the smaller of the two men, okay? And just trying to split it and split him, taking on that guy. So as I'm coming in, I'm almost loading like a load foot or a power step. So power step, leading, boom, up and through, and wing. And then once you bust through, I've got to be under control and balance up, or shimmying and working to the ball. Okay? So once you clear, you don't want to continue to run upfield and run by the returner. You want to make sure you're under control, maybe get in your shimmy state at that point. This is fly zone, strike zone. We do this drill all the time. Special teams day, at least. If we can get it to run. Come on. Coaching too much there. Alright. So you have first level. As you can see, we're ripping, stacking back on the line. This is our wedge game, okay? So most of the time, or some of the time, we progress this. We've got the three guys with the bags, they're out on their individual line, and we're strike zoning this. We're setting up a wedge, and we have to attack the wedge. Okay, so as you can see here, I think it's Coach Clark. He's coming off the left side. So this guy would be clearing the right side. He should be the unblocked man. He should come for the one hole, and our backside guy splitting the backside two holes. All right? That's not bad.
Don't let the speed fool you.
And emphasizing angles to the ball. Okay. Questions over any of that drill-wise, circuit-wise? Is that what you're
This guy with the
thinking?
yellow shirt.
Do that?
Yeah, why is he?
Oh, we look ragtag there, don't we?
Who's that guy?
I don't know, the head coach doesn't give a shit. He's too busy probably pretending he's a football player himself still.
Yeah. Okay.
We're on tight budgets. But
Circuits. Coach, can you remember if we did anything in rollout wise this year, game wise? What game we would have rolled out in? Because I can't remember.
No, I tell you what, if you want to go ahead and do onside, I'll find a couple
Okay.
and pull up on my phone.
Han slängde sig på. Nej, han la sig upp sidan, så hela kroppen. Han var liksom, no, Mr. President. All right. Tog skottet för honom. I believe it's in a single onside. Okay, I'm not going to be able to find just specifically the onside, but I can give you the concept in general. Let me go down here. Okay. I'm going to cover kickoff with onside sprinkled into it, okay? Because you first got to understand how we kick off, because it may be a different scheme than what you do. And I want you to understand why we do what we do, because our onside, it looks like our kickoff, okay? So, first and foremost, we're a hash kicking team. I don't know, what do you all kick? From the middle?
Hash.
Always from the hash?
Yeah.
Are you kicking? We always kick from our sideline hash. Always. Because I want the ball to our sideline. I feel like it creates an advantage. It creates more excitement for our kids if the ball's over there and we can talk to them as they're covering the kick and that type of thing. If there's a fumble that takes place, we can have more of an impact on the play. Plus, we cut the field in half, all right, which is what we're trying to do. But we always kick from the hash. We always kick from our sideline. We have a numbering system that our kids know. Number 1 meaning is the closest guy to our sideline, and the count goes to the opposing sideline. So it'll go 1 to 10. The kicker is not in the count. He is just K. So 1, 2, 3, 4, and then beyond the kicker is 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Okay, so it's a 4x6 look. And it starts with 1 all the way to 10. The kicker is not in the count. So, I don't know how well. Let me shoot. Okay, just stuff these. Okay, I won't read this entire thing, but it just gives you a general idea of what the assignments of each person is and how detailed this is. And when I line these kids up and I give them a job on that wanted poster, this is what I'm going to put. Okay, so if I want a number 1, or the guy closest to my sideline, or the number 9, that's what their job is going to be, and that's the mentality that they need to have when they're covering a kick. Okay, and 1 and 9 are going to be my best football players in the kickoff. They're supposed to make the majority of the tackles. Okay, and then you have, of course, numbers 2s, 3s, 4s, and so forth, and what each of their jobs are. Okay, so like 2, 3, and 4 are more wedge busting types. Their job is to get down the field. Okay, 5, 6, 7, and 8, all right, all have landmarks, as you can read. If you read through this, they all have landmarks in specific areas on the field that they're supposed to cover, what lanes they're supposed to be in. Okay, numbers 1 and 9 are fold players, so they'll fold in behind, and I'll show you clips. They'll fold in behind, and they're looking for open windows or lanes that have been established, and they're going to stick their face in those lanes because who's coming through it? The returner. Okay, so that's what their job is, and they're going to make most of the tackles. And then 10, of course, is just your backside contain, making sure nothing bounces. Now, within our kickoff, every single team tries to test us. They try to bounce it and go all the way across the field because they think they can get the edge on us. If number 10 does his job, that won't happen. Okay? We want to cut it in half and make them return within half of the field, or keep them to the hash, or keep them on the numbers, and vice them down. Okay? Okay, so whenever you line up, I said pre-kick alignment is 1 aiming point over to the opponent's sideline. So if you're number 1, okay, you're going to be to the sideline, but number 2, your aiming point, once you cross the line of the ball's kick, you're not going to stay in that specific lane. You're going to move to your lane. Okay, we're going to put you on the move, so it makes it more difficult for them to get their hands on you, 1, and 2, you're working to your lane. All right, so you're not just running a straight V line. We're working to our lane. All right, and we'll show you that on film. And these are just some other points here. It's talking about fly zone and how to implement it, or how to utilize it as you're working down the field. We constantly work or stress the importance of speed and being under control as we get down there. Okay, so let's pull up some kickoffs. worthless. All right, so this is first game of the year, so some of this may look a little sketchy. All right, and we get better as the year goes on. But as you can tell, this is our sideline over here. Ball's on the left hash. We're in a 4x6. Now, we do, because our kicker isn't very strong, I mean, he's the best player on the field, but he's just not a strong kicker. We do a check with me system where we implement a surprise onside every single time. So every week I'm studying what this return team does, how they're aligned. If they're a 5-man front, if they're a 4-man front, if they got some kid up there that is chubby and can't move and has terrible looking hands and is slow, I'm going to try to probably surprise onside him and kick a ball right at him and bet you that 3 of my best players on our team are going to go get the ball before he can get on it, or scare the hell out of him and make him fumble it, because we're going to be bearing down on him. So for the past 2 years, how many kicks do you think we've, or onside, surprise onsides we've recovered?
10?
A lot.
10, 12?
Yeah. So I don't know where I'm at over here, but I think that's me. We have a check with me, and you can tell his eyes are to me, everyone is to me. And every week we have a surprise onside. I'll stand over there, and whatever, you know, my signal is for that week, I typically change it. You know, I'll either tell them to like kick it away. So say this means kick it deep, or I'll say, you know, I want a surprise dribbling. We have different onsides, but say I just want just a dribbling onside right down the kick, where the kicker runs straight up to it, tips it, and hopefully it runs 5 yards or 10 yards straight down the field, and we cover it. I'll give him like a bow and arrow, okay, and that will signify, hey, this is what we're doing. So in this case, I don't know what we're doing. So right now, he's going to line up on the ball. All of our guys have gotten the call. This looks like it's going to be just a regular kick down the field, because as you saw, this guy's adjusted. He has kick responsibility as well if need be. So Colbert lines it up. And that is just your basic squib down the pipe. Now, I don't know if the guys do the correct job or not. Okay, now as you can tell, this is the 1 guy, and this is number 9. They were fold players. So they're folding in behind, and we actually do a pretty good job of staying in our lanes. Our backside contained, number 10, which is him, ends up making the tackle because they try to cut him across the field, but ball gets kicked in the middle of the field. It's not where we want it. I want the ball over here on the numbers, okay? Because if it's in the middle of the field, now my guys have to adjust their lanes and work to the ball, okay? It messes it up. Everything is surrounded by the idea that my kicker is going to put it over by the number somewhere. Here's another one. They're getting their signal from me. I'm just giving them a roll-it signal, so this is the same thing. The fold players again. Deep squib. There's a hot ball. He ends up doing a good job of catching it, and we're there to make the tackle. Now he's getting it on the 38-yard line, and he's squibbing it. I don't like squibbing it because they're getting the ball on the 38-yard line. Ideally, I want the ball kicked deep with height, caught on no shallower than the 10-yard line, because we can cover and get down there, and hopefully we get a tackle on the 25 at the most. You know, 3 years ago, our coverage team was a lot better because our kicker had the ability to kick it deep. And the average starting position for the offense was not nearly as good. Do you remember a specific game where we onsided?
Last year?
Yeah.
2 years ago in Montgomery County, we recovered like 3 of them.
That and Central.
Yes. Central's the one where you see his hat fly from the end. A lot of people played us different last year because of our onside the year before. So like Sebastian, you know, we're talking about in-game adjustments.
Yeah.
You know, he's talking about assigning for coaches to watch special teams. When we kick off, guys, we're not just cheering on the sideline. We let the players cheer. Every coach has a responsibility to watch. two of us watch the front line of the kickoff return team. I'm looking to see when they kick, when the ball leaves our foot, is their team bailing before we kick the ball? If their front line's moving backwards before we kick that football, we will onside them the next time. Because they're showing they leave early. Does that make sense? If they don't clear the kick, that's an in-game adjustment for us. We're looking to see if they're going to clear the kick. If they're not, we're going to take advantage of it. He's going to show it to you right here.
Okay, I think. No, that's a hot squid.
You see how far back they are?
Mm-hmm.
That's something we would start to see. Now, we won't take it every time. If the game situation says kick deep, we're going to kick deep. If it's a field position game, because it's a risk. You may not get it. But if they're giving us cushion like that, we're going to take it. I mean, look at all the space up front.
This is last year's game, isn't it? No, this was the year before. No wonder. Sorry.
Unclick this one too, Coach.
Struggling. I'm on the struggle bus.
Okay.
I did, didn't I?
Yeah, it's unclicked. You can filter it if you want.
Am I on it right now?
Yeah,
Yeah.
you're on it. On the struggle bus.
So do your assignments change with the onside?
You've got a
Yes.
couple different ones.
Yeah. It's depending on what we call.
Okay.
What is going on? Why would this not click? All right.
Say a Swedish cuss word, Coach.
Give me one.
Fan.
Allihopa.
That's
Allihopa.
not one.
All right. Now we're getting close. It didn't work. What is the deal?
There you have onside kick. Next click.
It's a return.
All right.
All right.
Finally. This is early in the game. This is the 12th play of the game. We just scored, okay? And as you can tell, we're over here. Ball's on the right hash, sort of. Now, I give my kicker the leeway of coming off the hash a little bit, just depending on what he's comfortable with. But he's not going to put it in the middle of the field. He can go between the X and the hash. So he's moved to his left a little bit, but it's a 4x6. It looks exactly like our normal kickoff coverage team. But what we've done is I've looked at their front line and determined, probably by film, before I decide to run this, what to expect. Now, I think this is just a slow dribbler. See this area here? Okay, I've identified that as a weakness, or they're dropping out before the ball is kicked. So,
See that?
I've identified a weakness, and I'm sending basically my numbers 3, 4, 5, and 6 after this ball. I'm taking 3 or 4 guys that are full speed compared to 2 of their guys that can barely redirect and try to get to the ball and try to get on top of it. So we get this ball.
Huge, biggest rivalry, guys. There's 15,000 people at this football game. This is our big rival. 12th play of the game. This is awesome.
In my mind, are you taking a risk? Yes. But I also understand that my kicker can't get the ball that deep. You know, the average starting position for an opposing offense for us during this time was probably on the 38-yard line. I know this ball's at least going to get to the 50. It's one more first down. I'm willing to risk potentially getting the ball as opposed to just giving them a first down. And I think our percentages of getting it have been really high up until, you know, this year.
And given the situation of the game, our kids thrive on our risk-taking in these scenarios.
Here's a good
You
view.
guys know the play, like, it's exciting when you know your coach is rolling the dice in the game a little bit, isn't it? Our kids love it when we call these.
And, you know, later on I found out that they worked this, the opposing team took like an hour during the week and worked it. And they knew it was coming.
And we got it twice.
But what they didn't account for is, look at this gap. And that's what I want. That's what I'm looking for within this scenario. If I have Coach Smoot upside top and he goes, man, you could drive a truck, 2 trucks through that hole, surprise onside it right down the middle, I'm going to take it and go with it, because I bet my guys that are in that position can field the ball before they can collapse down.
If we have 4 guys at the ball right
It's
there, we'll
stealing.
get out there.
And what happens is, once you get one, they start to adjust the return, and they'll end up putting 5, 6 men up on the front line. And then that's when you kick it deep, because then you get them out of what they want to do. So,
Sebastian, around here, this would be low risk, high reward. It really would be.
so that was at the beginning of the game. We end up punting. We get the ball, or they get the ball in the second half. Here it is.
Oh,
All right. So this time, as you can tell, we've lined the ball up towards our sideline. Okay. We have a 4x6, and they've adjusted their guys over. But now you see, now they've really adjusted over to cut down this gap that we kicked through. Because they've adjusted over, this kid's overcompensated, and they've left this huge area over here. So, you know, I've got a guy upstairs, like, you've got it, take it. All right, so we roll the dice again at the beginning of the first half. Their coach is probably in the locker room going nuts already, wondering how we got the first one. And then we kick an onside here, based off of numbers, and we get that one. Watch the coach down here at the bottom. I love it.
full screen this coach.
Watch his hat goes. It flies a mile.
Friggin' checks his hat.
And right here.
That's their special teams coach.
And that's what it does to opposing teams. I mean, it demoralizes you. You know, if your kids are on the sideline, you see your coach throw your hat 20 yards, you know he's pissed off. So it's momentum, and you're rolling the dice, but I like taking chances, and so does Coach Clark. And we've restored a lot of possessions on that. But you know, we signal everything in, and we have other variations of it. But this is one. That's you know, kicking it onside to the 6-man side. Our traditional onside, if the team knows we're going to onside and we need the ball back at the end of the game, we'll line it up. And I mean, you're not really surprising anybody. Or we like to keep our options open, dependent on how they align. Okay, how they're spaced. But you got to do a great job communicating as a coaching staff. This is what is available. You can have someone stand at the very end of the field. Do y'all have headsets? No. No headsets. Headsets are key. It's hard to communicate.
Really hard.
Yeah, it makes it difficult. But you know,
nothing can be done.
but if you're just a coordinator in general, get at an angle that you can see how they're aligned, and then have your kids look at you, and then you can signal from there. You know, but I'm a big believer in signaling on kickoff and basically on punt. Whatever we do a lot of signaling.
Yeah, we do the same.
Yeah.
We do the same.
But you said you're not really practicing the onside kick because you don't want to waste too much time with it.
Mm-hmm.
And your kicker is also your inside linebacker.